Do you know what really sucks? Is sitting down to edit your project and realizing that you have gaps in your coverage or shots missing. You need to have a really good, specific, and detailed shot list. Head over to filmmakersecrets.com/shot list, SHOTLIST, to get a killer shot list template along with some training where I show you step by step exactly how to use it.
I learned how to run a business, run payroll. I learned how to work with unions. I learned how to work with name actors. I learned how to write contracts. I learned so much about the industry, about working with people. And those lessons are lessons that you can't give back and that you're going to use forever.
Filmmakers have the power to evoke emotion, inspire thought, and drive universal change in this world. So how does a filmmaker thrive in an environment that is almost intentionally designed to bring you down? That is the question, and this podcast reveals the answer. What's happening, filmmakers? It's George VK. Welcome to Filmmaker Secrets podcast, episode number 15. I am so excited to introduce my next guest, Kyle T. Cowan. He's a writer, producer, director, actor, all-around amazing person. So Kyle, go ahead and say what's up to our filmmakers and reveal the one filmmaker secret that you've been keeping from us.
All right. Hey, how's it going, George? Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. All right. So my filmmaker secret is that many name actors will work on your movie and they'll work with your budget as long as you work with unions. So that'll up the production value of your project. And also, it's going to up how many film festivals you're going to have the potential of getting into. It's also going to up distribution. So potential distributors are going to be way more interested if you can get like those name actors from TV shows and stuff like that to work on your show. And a lot of them will do it just because they like your work. So if you write a good screenplay, it's very likely you can get really good actors in your project, movie, TV pilot, whatever you're doing. So
awesome. Storytelling secret number one from Kyle T. Cowan. Write a good script that's compelling, and that way you'll be able to attract name talent. So, this is something, just to give you guys a little backstory on Kyle T. Cowan and myself. We worked on a film that he wrote called Camouflage, that he wrote and directed and starred in, and I was the DP. But one of the biggest takeaways from that whole project was just how amazing it is to have name talent that is almost magnetically attracted to you because of the story, because they believe in what your message is and what you're trying to tell. And the fact that those name actors were already shooting TV shows and other films, but they wanted to be in the narrative long feature length sort of format. Can you talk about just that nuance of actors wanting to come over to narrative film and them really like wanting to sink their teeth into a character?
Yeah. So for Camouflage, it was kind of interesting because I wrote the screenplay and then raised the money, and then we had no idea what kind of interest we were going to have. We were partnered with a management company at the time who helped us bring actors that they represented. But not only that, I had worked in casting in New Mexico, and that helped me too, because the casting director, Catherine Brink, was able to bring just submitted talent. Like Jimmy Bennett was a submission to the project, and we got him on board, which was really cool. The main thing that they wanted is to know that I would work with their schedules, because like Drew Van Acker was in Pretty Little Liars at the time, and Lou Temple was on The Walking Dead. So we just needed to make sure that whatever schedule I came up with wasn't going to conflict with their projects that pay bills, because Camouflage was not paying anybody's bills. So we just had to make sure that they were on board with that. And then they had their own character rewrites and stuff that they wanted to add to the script. So sitting down with each actor and making sure that the character that I was building fit the character that they wanted to play. So it's more collaborative than anything, because if you're not willing to collaborate with name talent, they're really not going to do your project. And sometimes, you have to push back if it doesn't fit in with the story. I had one of the actors that we had booked who wanted my role in the movie. And I was like, you know, I get why, but he doesn't really fit that role. So he ended up in the role that he played. But there's all kinds of stuff like that. And just making sure that they're happy and you stick to their schedules. We only had actors there for 8 hours. We never kept them longer than that. That was budgetary reasons too. I couldn't afford overtime. So you have to have a good crew, and a good plan before you go into it, because if you go over, it's very likely you're eating into money that is already allocated for something else.
Money that you don't have.
Yeah. We didn't have time or money on that movie. So
the true filmmaker way.
Yeah. So we shot that film in 13 days and then, edited it. And I want to say it was done in 2 months. Cause I could only afford the sound person, the sound designer, and, he did the music too for 2 months. So that was kind of it. And then it was done. I mean, it had to be done because we didn't have any more money. So that's part of indie filmmaking, and part of the reason why I switched to books, to be honest with you. So,
well, you were setting aggressive deadlines for yourself, which I think is always really helpful. I'd love to come back to Camouflage, but for this next question, just kind of take me way back to that moment that you had this spark to start, dabbling in filmmaking, and then eventually going really deep and starting to learn as much as you can about filmmaking. What was that initial sort of plot point one, the inciting incident in your life where it set you on this path to, serve an audience, to become a storyteller?
Yeah. So when I was in kindergarten, actually, I had just seen 101 Dalmatians, and I directed my class to perform the movie. And my teacher had told my parents about it. And then after that, my parents really pushed me to get interested in storytelling and books and movies. And after that, I saw, they did the remakes of Star Wars, in the 90s. And that was like my first introduction to Star Wars. And I mean, it's every nerd's story that Star Wars changed their life, and that's mine too. And that was really what got me interested in movies and made me know that I wanted to tell stories in some type of way. But yeah, I mean, I've always been interested in it and researched it. I mean, when Lord of the Rings, the extended editions came out, just watching the behind the scenes of those and how they were able to make the hobbits the correct height, the camera rigs that they made, just to shoot every shot in that movie. Like the filmmaking and attention to detail that went into those was just amazing to me. And that kind of stuff really has always fascinated me. How you can manipulate the camera to do very cool things. So yeah, I think those were like the epiphany moments for me. So
beautiful epiphany moments. I love it. I'm going to steal that from now on. I hope you don't mind.
You have it. It's yours. So copyright George VK. He has it.
Perfect. Oh yeah. I think you're the first person to say my name correctly.
You're welcome.
This is fun. Okay. Awesome. So you start dabbling, you start geeking out on this stuff, but then something happens where you become sort of like this jack of all trades. I mean, Kyle, you do everything. Like you write, you direct, you act, and you how do you manage your time? How do you manage all those different skill sets for one single project?
Yeah. So, I've always been a firm believer in go where the doors open. So when I was in high school, I started working on different commercials, which led to being a stand-in on a TV show called Wildfire, which was on ABC Family, which I think is deemed something else at this point. I don't know what that network is called now. And then, I mean, when I got to college, I did commercials, and every door opened a new door. I worked for American Idol while I was in college, doing casting, which led to a casting job out of school, in New Mexico. And, I was friends with Anton Yelchin, who was in one of the movies that we were working on, and he helped me get in the Screen Actors Guild, which at the time was not SAG-AFTRA. So to get in the Screen Actors Guild, you had to get a line in a movie, but to get a line in a movie, you needed to be in the Screen Actors Guild. So that was the original catch 22. So he kind of helped me take that step so that I could audition for stuff. And I mean, I've always written, so I always allocate an hour a day to write. Auditioning obviously takes up a lot of time when it's audition season. I think right after Camouflage came out, well, we hadn't finished Camouflage yet, was when I booked Manhattan. And then I spent about 6 weeks in New Mexico doing Manhattan. So just really going where the open door is, putting things aside that you have to, making sure that all your obligations are always complete. But, you know, you really have to go where the money is. Like if you're making money doing something, don't do something that's not making you money. Because that's kind of a mistake. If you're writing something and then you get offered an acting gig and you're like, well, no, I'm a writer now. That's kind of selling yourself short and selling yourself so that you can't really, you know, get the platform that you need. And I'm lucky that, I, after Camouflage and Manhattan and Preacher, kind of developed like this cult following, that really has supported me, through everything. I mean, my book that got published, I had to get 750 pre-orders on it to get that publishing deal. And they came through very quickly on that. Which I'm lucky that they've stuck with me, and they still stick with me to this day. Like they're still very interested in what I'm doing. I'm not acting as much. The last movie I did came out in June. It was called The Short History of the Long Road. But I mean, I'm still interested in acting. I'm trying to focus more on books and storytelling right now. Just because that's really where my passion is. So, but yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I think I just wanted to more or less get a stream of consciousness from you, because I think a lot of times we hear, you know, find a niche and then, you know, pick a focus. Obviously, there are plenty of filmmakers that are sort of the jack of all trades, masters of none, because they spread themselves so thin. But talk to me about maybe specifically Camouflage. You know, your process for writing the screenplay, then switching over to sort of the director hat, but then also, you know, being the lead actor. How do you make those switches? Are those processes constantly happening? Like as a writer, are you on set battling with your inner director and then your actors battling with your inner, you know, like what are the conflicts? How do you overcome them and how do you make it work?
Yeah. So, Camouflage was interesting because when I was writing it, I knew that it had to have, I think there were 14 locations total in the movie. So I knew what we could afford, and I had a set number in mind that I was going to raise. And I knew that the script couldn't be anything other than what it was, because we couldn't afford it. And that's something that every producer has to understand. And if you want to be a good writer, you also have to be a good producer. So if you want to write movies, you have to know what your movie is. A lot of screenwriters make the mistake of going into screenwriting thinking they're going to write, you know, $300 million budget movies to start out. And that's just not practical. You're not going to get that kind of option or deal, especially right out of film school. So I kind of knew that wasn't in the cards for me. So I wrote it on a specific budget. And then once it was written, and once I had worked with the actors to do rewrites based on what they wanted, I was done with the script and I never thought about rewriting things again. We did get on set and there was improv moments, but I mean, by that point, I wasn't really paying attention to that. You know, I was paying attention to good performances and if the actors were connecting. But you know, when you're acting and directing, you just have to make sure that your DP and your camera people are getting good shots. Because sometimes you are so in character that you have to just keep going. Especially when we did the scene in the dorm room with Drew, where I was just crying the whole time and directing the two actors. It was kind of a bit ridiculous to be able to stop, to look at footage, because, you know, you really can't, when you're in it. So I would typically, I think we shot 5 takes, and then I would look to make sure we got what we needed, and then we'd shoot 5 takes, and then I would look. But I mean, a lot of the directing was done beforehand too on that movie, because we had good communication and storyboards and shot lists, and we had good rehearsals with all of the actors. Everyone knew what they were doing before they got to set. And that's really important if you're going to wear multiple hats. The producer side of it was just staying up until 4 a.m. every night. I had to drive checks over to the Screen Actors Guild. That's one of the things about using unions, is if you are a low budget, they don't really give you a lot of wiggle room on time to pay people and stuff like that. So I had to make sure that the checks were there when they needed to be there. SAG distributes the checks to the actors. And that's just to keep the actors safe, which I understand. You know, we had to hire a set teacher because there were kids in the movie. That was an interesting thing, because the set teacher was like, this feels like such a low budget movie compared to what he was used to working on. Which all of the actors kind of felt like that. I think they were surprised at how professional it was with how little we had. So, but yeah, I think if you're trying to do multiple things, the key is just organization. So being very organized before you go into it, because if you're not organized, the whole thing's going to fall apart very quickly. So
beautiful. You know, you mentioned the actors kind of being surprised at how there's something romanticized about a low budget film set, where it's not this hustle and bustle of, you know, hundreds of people on crew. Everybody's got their own trailer, but it's more intimate, and there's this sort of sense of community. Can you describe some of your like favorite moments with working with these actors, or just the overall experience of? I mean, it was a grueling shoot. Obviously, there was, you know, a lot to get done in a short amount of time. There you have a lot of responsibility, and time is ticking. The money is flowing. So just talk through some of the more romanticized moments of working with these actors.
Yeah, I think my favorite actor to work with was Lou Temple. And it's just because of the amount I learned from him, just about eye lines and stuff like that, how to really steal the performance from the other actor, which, you know, you're not supposed to do that technically, but it is kind of a thing. You want to make sure that your screen time that you're giving the director is the screen time they're going to use. And I think I've used what I learned from him in every single role that I've played. And it's kind of interesting too, if you like, I've been on, you know, multi-million-dollar productions at this point with trailers and everything like that. The difference between a multi-million-dollar film and a really low-budget film is not very much. There's just as much disorganization. There was one show that I was in, that I won't name, that I got to set and I had never seen a script. And the PA, when I got there, was like, I asked him for a pocket script, you know, to go through my lines, because I literally had never seen a script. I booked this role based on prior auditions, and the casting director just cast me. So I got there, and I'm like, you know, I need a script. And the PA gave me this like snarky response that was like, we expect our actors to know their lines before they get to set. We don't do pocket script. I was like, okay, well, that'd be nice if I'd seen a script. And they had given the same response to this other actor who they had flown in from Europe. And
Wow.
that was just a complete mess. So, and that show, I think, was wasting like probably, you know, $1 million a day on those days. So, and the disorganization will amaze you on some of these sets. But at the same time, some of them move like clockwork, like Manhattan. That show is like so organized. And they knew what they wanted. They had the whole World War I set up where I ran through the trenches and stuff like that. And the explosions, like, we only had a few takes to do those because, budget, if you're blowing up, 20 mortars, you have to make sure that the shot comes out. So I've had all kinds of experiences, but yeah, I think on Camouflage, the main takeaway was working with Lou Temple and getting all that knowledge from somebody who had worked in the industry. I think he had worked on like 90 films at that point. So he really knew what he was doing and still knows what he's doing. And if you get that kind of chance, you really take whatever they tell you to heart. I also, had a great friendship with Amrita Acharya, who was from Game of Thrones, and she was like the fun actor to work with. Just because every day we were together for, I think, 6 days, and we did the interrogation stuff, and she was just fun. I mean, she just made it so that it was more relaxed, and there weren't many actors who did that either, who made the set just like a joy. And there were hard moments too. Working with Caden, who I think was sick at the time. That was tough for me just because we had to get him off set in like 3 hours. So we shot all of his shots so he could leave, and the other actors are there to work with the kid, but they're not really getting screen time or performance time. So all of your attention's kind of going just to that. But yeah, I think I learned something from every actor we cast, and they were all valuable lessons, so.
Yeah, I agree with you about Amrita for sure. Like, I think it's surprising when you have someone that is, you assume to have all this kind of diva type of behavior, but they're just like a normal human being, and they're relating to you in whatever way possible. I think it just says a lot about a person, but also the type of actors that you want to work with, the ones that are just down to earth and real, and make the set, the actual process enjoyable, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I want to ask you, so you kind of mentioned about a roadblock. What was, besides funding and scheduling, what was the biggest roadblock in your mind about shooting Camouflage?
The biggest blocks really came after, with film festivals and working with executive producers and just getting distribution for the film. And just kind of when you're contracted in with a company, sticking to what you believe and not going against it. We ended up just releasing Camouflage on Vimeo. And we did like a Walker Stalker Con, which was like a Walking Dead Comic Con with it. We had like a few screenings of it, but it really, having all those actors doesn't guarantee the success of a film. It doesn't guarantee the film's going to sell. It didn't guarantee anything. And I think that's like an important lesson to take from it too. I think Camouflage came out the best that it could have come out. I'm not happy with, all of the story edits that I had to do based on performances, because sometimes you have to edit around things that didn't work. We couldn't go back and do reshoots. It wasn't that type of movie, just because we didn't have any more money. So those lessons are roadblocks, but they're just lessons, and they're things to take away for your next project. And the success of Camouflage was how much I learned. I learned how to run a business, run payroll. I learned how to work with unions. I learned how to work with name actors. I learned how to write contracts. Every contract that was given in that movie was written by me. I bought, 6 lawyer contract books, read them all, and made sure that I knew what I was doing. And then we had our executive producer with the lawyer. And so he looked them over before I presented them to him. But, I did all the legwork on contracts, on really so much of that movie was basically me staying up all night doing things. And it's like a master class in learning to make a movie. It's like getting a master's degree. It's how I looked at Camouflage. It was my master's degree. And, I learned so much about the industry, about people in general, about working with people. And those lessons are lessons that you can't give back and that you're going to use forever. I haven't directed another movie since Camouflage. And that's because I decided that I could tell stories that were so much more fleshed out, through books. And I decided that, directing and stuff like that would come later in my career and later in my life. Because I learned from Camouflage that, doing a really low budget movie, while it's a great experience and you learn a whole lot, you don't necessarily get to tell the exact story you want to tell. And that's just the way it is. And I think with the book, you're not constricted with all these budget things. So you can write whatever story you want. You get to get into the character's head. And, that's kind of why I moved into writing books and acting as my primary focuses right now. But the lessons from Camouflage will be taken with me forever. So
that's a beautiful sentiment. I love it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll direct again. It's just, I'm not going to direct right now. So,
well, that is a great segue to my next question about your actual novel, Sunshine is Forever. Can you talk to me about how this baby was born and what it was born out of?
Yeah. So at the time, after Camouflage, I worked with a few different agents and managers, and it's called general meetings, where you meet with different production companies, and I ended up getting a pretty good mentor out of it, and he had recommended that I turn my work into books. And the reason why is he just told me, it's really hard to get an option on your original material. At the age I was at, I think I was like 20. I don't want to tell you all that. I was in my 20s. Anyway, so so I ended up finding Inkshares. I didn't normally, when you publish a book, you query agents, and then the agent rewrites the book with you. And after the book is ready, you go on submission, and an editor reads it. And you have a few editors who read it, and hopefully you get an offer. You can do a few rounds of submission, and then if you don't get an offer from an editor, the book is dead. So I decided I didn't want to go that route with Sunshine, and I used Inkshares, and I raised. So I had to get 750 pre-orders to get that publishing deal, and I think I did it in a month. Which
now, is that self-publishing?
It's not. So Inkshares is like, they're considered independent publishing. It's like a gray area between vanity publishing, which is where you pay a publisher to publish you, and independent publishing, which is like an indie press typically pays you up front for your work, similar to like a big house like Simon & Schuster. So it's like somewhere in between that. Cause I worked with 4 editors on it. The book came out really, really well. I mean, it's well reviewed. I'm really proud of it. And, I should hopefully be able to announce my next book soon. But not able to talk about that. And then hopefully I'll get back into film down the road with all these books. So
you're going to have so many adaptations.
Yeah, exactly. So,
kind of, we talked about the past, we talked about the present and kind of what's happening. You mentioned a career in the future with film. What do you think would be that path in terms of your focus or your genre or your directorial style? Where do you kind of like imagine yourself, 5-10 years from now? What does that look like?
So, my mentor actually pointed out that my voice really fits young adult, which is 13 to 19. So I think that's really going to be my lane, is sticking with young adult books, young adult movies. So like A Perks of Being a Wallflower, Love, Simon, those types of movies. And that's really the lane I think I'm going to stick in. I really like that genre. really like the books that come from that genre, and I think it's a good lane for me. Camouflage was almost young adult because the main character in that's like 20. So I think that's probably where I'm going to end up is doing young adult for the immediate future. I have a few adult novel and screenplay ideas, but I'm not going to do them yet. I'm going to stick in this lane for the immediate future. So
yeah, you're sort of creating your own market instead of picking a niche. You're creating a market of sort of this storytelling that's geared towards that demographic, and I think that's really important to narrow down your focus. So, going forward, what's next for you? Like, what is this immediate next venture that you're off on?
So hopefully, my next will be a new book.
Why do you laugh?
I just can't talk about anything revolving around it yet. I can only say that it's a finalist in this competition. So it's a finalist in this competition, and hopefully soon we'll be able to talk about that. I'm gonna, continue acting. COVID really changed everything for me. Not working for a year has been hard on everyone, and I think that it gave me a lot of time to reflect on what I was gonna do next and how to go about it. So I'm definitely gonna keep writing. I plan on doing some sort of film aspect to go with book releases in the future, like doing trailers. I don't know if you've seen any book trailers, but they're terrible. So doing like a cool book trailer.
I was about to say like a book trailer by Kyle T. Cowan. That would be freaking epic. I want to see that.
Yeah. So I want to do stuff like that with film in the future. And there's a lot of music elements in my next book. So hopefully, working with musicians that I know to get some of those songs released too. One of the really fun things on Camouflage was doing the soundtrack, and we recorded songs for Jimmy Bennett. And that was really fun for me, being involved in that. So, kind of having like these different immersive things to go along with, book releases that really elevate, my book to hopefully I'd like to be a bestseller someday. So that's the next goal. It's probably a little ways off, but hopefully by like book 3, book 4, I'm, on that list too. So
I think it's closer than you think. I believe it.
Thanks.
I wish you the best of luck in your author writer career. I have one last question for you, Kyle. What is your desert island movie? So if you could only watch one movie for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Super 8, J.J. Abrams.
I love how quick you were with that answer because it tends to trip people up every time I ask.
Yeah, no, that's my favorite.
It's different from a favorite movie, but it's something that I have to be able to watch every time. Super 8, I love it. Production value.
Yep, exactly. Super 8's honestly, if you haven't seen it, it's the best movie of all time, and I'll fight you on that. So
it is. It's so good. So good. Okay. Kyle, thank you so much for being on Filmmaker Secrets podcast. Where can our filmmakers go to find out more about you?
Yeah. So everything is on www.ktcowan.com, and you can find links to everything. And I hope that you'll buy Sunshine is Forever. And I hope that you'll pre-order my next book when it's available. So I appreciate it.
Of course. Yes. Go buy right now after you listen to this episode. ktcowan.com. I'll have all the links in the show notes down below, so make sure to check out Kyle T. Cowan. Kyle, thank you so much for being on the show. I could talk to you for hours and hours, but I'm trying to keep these short. I appreciate your time, and thank you for being on Filmmaker Secrets podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
If you like that, then you are going to love my Cine Racing Challenge. This is a 7-day filmmaking competition where your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to write, shoot, and edit a short 60-second film in just 7 days for your one chance to win with over $10,000 in prizes. So head over to cineracing.com. That's cineracing.com to get registered. Spots are filling up fast and the timer is ticking before the next Cine Racing Challenge launches. So be sure to head over to cineracing.com right now to get registered. I'll see you over there.